Yesterday you were talking about practice guilt and you cracked yourself up.
Well, because we're not really about practice guilt.
Are you practicing guilt?
I hope not. But I think the thing is sometimes your practice, you do your practice and then, somehow you're finding it hard to do your practice during the day. Like I was traveling and so my schedule wasn't the same and it was difficult. And the physical location was challenging. I couldn't go outside. It was too cold. So like it just was hard to practice. So, I like to practice and it's part of my day to practice. So if I'm finding it difficult to practice, and then you might miss your time to practice. And, that happens. It happens to everybody. And if you're somebody who practices regularly, like I am, and you are,
Yeah.
then, missing the practice kind of feels off.
Yeah.
And then again, like it's just life.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to make it into a moment to be guilty because you missed your practice.
So true.
That's the practice guilt I'm talking about.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's really like what is practice then? What are we trying to do when we practice? Because we don't really want to make it into something that's so much full of obligation that it's constraining.
Right. And the concepts that hold up this energy practice of Qigong that you and I are in, especially want us to go with the flow in so many ways, want our emotions to flow easily, don't want to create additional stress. Our lives already have enough stress. And to add a sort of stressful relationship to practice is very...
We have to finish this conversation soon so I can go practice. Which is kind of true.
Yeah. Yes, right. The other concept that I'm starting to get a little bit better at, I think, is the idea of since this is about energy, we are about energy practice, and energy flow and energy healing is a 24/7 activity. Our bodies are constantly looking to create conditions for health and healing, right? For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we have an opportunity to also conceptually or consciously remember that and to allow that to continue by practicing without the practice of the energy movements. And that's really been that's a tough concept for me. Just to say like, well, right now I'm not practicing, but I'm with my family, or I'm taking a walk with friends and may not be able to get my practice in today. And that balance of practicing brings us something specific in terms of our energy connection, but allowing life and joy might be the best practice of all.
Yeah, if you could actually do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's a practice. I mean, if you could actually have love and joy, then you wouldn't need to practice because you've already got it, I don't think we need to do a practice if you were just all the time imbued with a sense of love and joy. Maybe we would, because who knows how much that would really saturate all the aspects of our life. But if it did, you wouldn't need to practice, I don't think. But then no one can do that. So there's this tension between the form and the structure of practice and the idea that what you're trying to create is freedom. Right? So like it's if you look at your practice as something that is confining you because I have to do it this time, I'm doing it for this long, I have to do it right. Quality, like Master Lu says. So if we do that, then you could lose the freedom too much,
right?
Which I think we all fall into.
Yes, right.
So if you lose the practice and don't have any formal practice, then you're all free. But then again, you might lose the structure you need to remember all these interconnections that happen when you practice. You know, that's the tension of it. That's the beauty of it, you know. So, you know, yeah, you could be with your family and go walk in nature, especially now in the spring, and remind yourself like, wow, that's spring happening. It's beautiful. And watch the trees and watch, you know, budding spring, watch the spring. And if you really just think like that's my liver, you know, that's my liver being expressed also. Liver energy is the same. It's inside, it's outside. If I could really live that way and experience that, that's the kind of practice. Then
It's
again,
beautiful. I love that you brought up the word freedom into the conversation, because freedom is, you're right, freedom is exactly where we can get when we allow life to happen and also push ourselves to maintain the discipline.
Yeah.
Both and, right? Not let life carry us away, not let our self-care fall to the bottom of the list, not let our practice fall off completely, but also not to make our practice feel like a prison that we have to step into every day at a certain time for a certain length of time to do certain kinds of things. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think, you know, in the end, for me, it's like, it's about, in a certain way, dismantling the mind. Because when we aren't practiced, we don't have a practice, we never had a practice, then you might not realize how confining your mind actually is, how it's creating realities that are causing you to suffer. Or you cause yourself to suffer through your mental patterns. So practice can break those patterns, and therefore it's useful. But, you know, if we just say, oh, I don't care if I practice today and I just live my life, it's so easy to fall into old patterns of thought and action. So that's the challenge. You don't have to practice if you can break your mental patterns.
Wow.
You know,
because if you could break your mental patterns, then everything would be about love and joy. And that would be simple. Let's go do that.
Okay.
And remember, everybody, if you're feeling guilt about anything today, don't practice guilt and don't have practice guilt.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought that up again.
Guilt will be your flag to say, hey, mind, cut it out. There's no need for me to feel guilty. Everything is just happening the way it should.
Exactly. Thank you.
And so on that note, we're going to leave you again until next week.
Right.
And yeah, take care, practice. Don't practice, but practice, and don't feel guilty.
Hooray. Enjoy the day.
Enjoy the day. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.